So for the last module and quiz points, I decided to do kinetics and kinematics of gait. And while I was reading the discussion post, I found that a lot of people were struggling with the differences between the two, and I find the human gait actually fascinating. So, I find myself actually watching people walk a lot, and I know that's a strange hobby, but I actually like doing it. So, kinetics and kinematics of gait. First off, the methods of studying normal human locomotion involve kinetics and kinematics. Kinetics is the division of mechanics that deals with the forces acting on bodies, and kinematics is the division of mechanics that deals with the motion of bodies, and it describes the motions of the body parts relative to each other during the different phases of gait. So, first, kinetics. The basic principles of kinetics are Sir Isaac Newton's 3 laws of motion. In the third law, this states that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Ground reaction force is the force transmitted from the floor to the foot, passed on up to all body segments. The reflection of body weight and acceleration, and vertical anterior to posterior mediolateral. The forces of major importance in analysis of human locomotion are externally generated forces and internally generated forces. Externally generated forces are the forces exerted by the pull of gravity, and the internally generated forces are the forces exerted by muscle contraction. Measurement of external forces basically is where kinetic analysis makes it possible to measure the magnitude and direction of external forces acting on limb during the different phases of the gait. Kinematic analysis makes it possible to determine the locomotion of joint in the space, and the combination of the two methods make it possible to calculate the externally generated moments of force at various joints. So, the detailed analysis of human locomotion derives from kinematic, and electromyographic studies of normal subjects walking at normal cadences. For the purpose of sagittal plane analysis, the pattern of walking has been considered in 3 intervals: the heel strike to mid-stance to toe off, and the swing phase. So when measuring internal forces, it's not practical to quantitatively measure the internally generated moments of force exerted by individual muscles during each instant of gait. And so that's where electromyographic studies tell us that when a specific muscle is active during the gait and when the maximum electrical activity occurs and the magnitude of these forces. So muscle activity during the gait cycle. First is the pretibial group. So during the heel strike phase, the lengthening contraction or eccentric phase of the foot dorsiflexors lets the foot down from heel strike to foot flattened position in a slow and controlled manner. The rest of the stance phase are the inverters and the everters, to act to keep the foot stable in ML direction. It's also important for the stability of walking on rough ground or on a hillside. For the calf group, the gastrocnemius and soleus, that has maximum activity during the push-off phase to propel the center of gravity up and forward. In the quadriceps group, max activity is after the heel strike, acting as the shock absorbers to control knee flexion to 15 degrees. In the hamstring group, the double peak of activity is just before and after heel strike. The first peak occurs during the swing, and it keeps the knee from buckling. The second peak is at the termination of stance phase, working towards hip and knee extension for push-off. The abductor group for the gluteus medius and maximus is active during heel strike and early stance phase to stabilize the pelvic tilt to 5 degrees. The adductor group is first after heel strike, when they assist the abductors to stabilize the pelvis, and the end of stance phase, they work together with other hip flexors to accelerate the limb forward in preparation for swing. The gluteus maximus is more active during the heel strike phase when it acts as shock absorber. Their extension function keeps both hip and knee from buckling. The erector spinae becomes active during the heel strike, and its activity is necessary to keep the trunk from folding forward from the force of inertia and gravity. It also stabilizes the trunk mediolaterally. So the main reason why I find kinematics and kinetics quite fascinating is because I ride horses, and because horses can't talk, they can't tell me what's wrong with them if they are hurting. So I actually have to basically memorize how they feel when I'm on top of them when they're walking, trotting, or cantering. Those are like the three major gaits that I'm like basically compete them in. And so if I can't tell what their normal walk is, then I have no idea what joint or muscle could be hurting them at the time. And actually, I have helped a lot of my friends by watching them walk. 4 of my friends are on the track team at my college in Jacksonville, so I'm constantly analyzing their walk and being like, hey, does your like right leg hip hurt? And they're like, yeah, how'd you know? I was like, well, you're walking funny because of it. And like, I know that's kind of a simple thing, but it actually has helped them a lot with physical therapy and like saying like, hey coach, I got to take like, 2 days off because like my hamstring is hurting. She could tell. I don't know how, but she could tell. So I guess that it's really cool to be able to tell someone that, and it definitely helps me with the horses, and this has been a really fun course for me.